When the company making your headphones is also in the business of making music, you can bet it's gonna be a pretty sweet pair of headphones when they combine those resources. That's what the Sony WH-1000XM6 is. Visually, it may just look like a simple facelift from the XM5, but just a fair warning that once you do try the XM6s on, it gets really hard to go back to the XM5s. As much as they share a similar look, the hardware has actually been completely redesigned, from little touches like the much more distinct power button, so you can't confuse it anymore with the noise cancellation button, to things you'll constantly be feeling like the wider headband. It actually feels quite different on the head versus the XM5. The 6 has been designed to fit more tightly on your head, so it's a better seal for noise cancellation, and it doesn't wiggle when moving your head around. I thought for sure that fatigue would kick in quite soon from the stronger clamping force, but it seems to have been wonderfully compensated for by the thicker padding on the ear cups. The redesign of the carrying case makes the XM6 more pleasant to travel with as well. It's not only smaller now because the headphones now fold inside the case, but it's secured with a magnetic clasp instead of a zipper back on the XM5, and it just makes for a tremendously better experience when opening and closing the case. Then, when you take your headphones out and start playing music through them, it's quite instantly audible that the XM6 is clearly a tier above the XM5 in terms of audio quality. One of the first tracks I like to audition on any headphone is the Live on MTV version of Hotel California, because of course it is. Right when the percussion kicks in at the 30-second mark, that deep, powerful bass sounds a lot cleaner on the XM6. You get this clean punch of bass instead of a boominess which overwhelms the rest of the mix. When the maracas come in a few seconds later, they are so clearly defined on the XM6 that in comparison, they sound almost suppressed on the XM5. It's a very pleasant sound profile on the XM6 out of the box, just enough energy in both the lows and highs to excite things without overdoing any frequencies and not compromising on clarity. One of the studios involved in tuning the sound for the WH-1000XM6 is Battery Studios in New York City, which is one of Sony Music Entertainment's very own music production facilities. When you involve the makers of music in the production of something meant to playback music, that playback gets pretty well taken care of. But that's only half the equation on the XM6, because this is also meant to take care of your surroundings, which sometimes you don't want to hear. Well, noise cancellation is beefed up considerably on the XM6 as well. I think I might have been shouting a bit back there. There's now a total of 12 microphones on the XM6 for noise cancellation. This is up from 8 mics on the XM5. There's a new processor in the 6 dedicated to noise cancelling, and it's called the QN3. The XM5 was using the QN1, which has been the same noise cancelling processor since the XM3. So this is the first time the NC processor has ever been upgraded in 7 years. It's also supposed to be 7 times faster, so combine that with the increase in microphones, you've basically got much better noise cancellation on here. The best way I can put this into words is if, say, you're in a room with a somewhat loud air conditioner, the XM5's ANC will block a lot of it out, but if you listen for it, you can still pick up the sound from the air conditioner. You're aware that it's still there. On the XM6, it disappears. Everything's just quieter. When you toggle over to ambient sound mode, it literally reveals yet another upgrade on the XM6. Everything around you sounds more natural. I find ambient mode back on the XM5 to sound a bit brighter than real life, and that made me quite aware constantly that I was listening to my surroundings through a device, especially when I speak as well. That voice in my head sounds muffled through ambient sound mode. But it is a day and night difference on the XM6. It sounds like a genuinely transparent pass-through, enough to convince you that it sounds like real life, and I can speak and hear myself in pretty much the same way as if I wasn't wearing headphones. And if you had music playing when you speak, as long as speak to chat is turned on, it ducks the volume of the music instead of pausing it like it did back on the XM5, and it just feels a lot less interruptive. It's one from a few quality of life features new with the XM6. There's a new feature called listening mode, which alters the sound of playback to simulate different spaces. Background music mode, for example, takes the sound out from inside your head and makes it sound like it's coming from further away. If you like to tweak your headphones equalizer settings, you get double the number of bands with the XM6's graphic EQ. It's now a 10-band EQ, up from 5 bands on the XM5. But the 6 has also inherited many great features from the 5, such as the Find Your Equalizer feature. There's also adaptive sound control, which automatically transitions between noise cancellation and ambient mode depending on user activity. And one of my favorites is Quick Attention mode. That's when you cover the entire touch panel on the right ear cup when you're in noise cancellation mode, and that temporarily peeks you out into your surroundings by activating ambient mode until you remove your palm. What I find to be such a win on the XM6 is it's not an upgrade with some flashy new headline feature, yet objectively it is a huge upgrade from the XM5. It doesn't really have to break the mold for wireless headphones, it's just that much better of a pair of headphones.